So today, we're gonna take a look at Battletoads. Rocket! How can you go wrong?
My name's Kevin Bayliss and I'm a graphics engineer or artist, and I've been working on video games since 1987. I began working at Rare Limited. Some of the favourite characters that I've evolved over the years would have been the Killer Instinct characters, this guy here, then the Battletoads characters, of course.
My name is Gar Won Toy, and I am the co-owner of A&T Games in Toronto, Ontario, and we specialize in retro video games. Battletoads came out in 1991, and we still sell copies.
My name is Gavin Jasper. I write for denimgeek.com. And as someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I was there for the rise and fall of Battletoads. The problem was it was ridiculously hard.
Have I ever finished Battletoads? No, no way.
I eventually gave up, unfortunately.
That game was impossible.
Not a chance, no.
My name is John Lee, and I beat Battletoads. But I cheated. Battletoads is the hardest game I've ever played.
I'm Teixeira, and I actually beat Battletoads. I'm the first person in the world to have beaten it without getting hit. And today, you're gonna watch me beat Battletoads.
Joining us today are Mario and Luigi.
Even before EGM and GamePro became big names, it was just Nintendo power. It was propaganda. So if you wanted to know how a game is, there was rental stores.
But get real. You'd rather be playing video games. You can rent them from Blockbuster.
If it was a really simplistic game and it cost your parents only a few bucks, you played it for a few days, then washed your hands of it. Something like that. If people are renting that, they're not making their 60 bucks. Battletoads was just one of those rentals that they needed to make it so impossible that you had no choice but to keep investing that time in there. Eventually, your parents are finally going to drop down that 60 bucks and buy it for you.
Okay. Yeah, you know, that makes sense.
The maps in Battletoads, that was basically down to Mark Bettridge and Tim Stamper and Greg Mayles. They were real hardcore gamers, particularly Mark and Greg anyway. And so, yeah, they made it pretty difficult. And it got to the point, I think, that only Mark could do the speeder bike level. Only he could do it. And we'd just sit there and watch it, and every time we'd test it, because we didn't have a big testing department then. We had maybe 2 or 3 people. And one of those would have been the software guy, and one of them would have been the designer. And now, of course, you have a huge team of people testing these kind of things. So buying a game was a big thing. It was expensive, and so we needed to make sure our games would give you a good week's worth of play solidly.
It came out during a time when Ninja Turtles was the biggest thing. And there were so many attempts to piggyback on their success. So they created this game that was very much a Ninja Turtles knockoff in a way, but was very expressive and had a lot of cool designs.
There were other games like it, like Ninja Turtles, just because, you know, they're reptiles. It was probably copying Ninja Turtles, but I mean, it was better than Ninja Turtles at the same time. It was different. It was more violent. It was probably the edgiest game that I played when I was a kid.
With the Ninja Hamster or the Ninja Turtles.
Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks.
It was very fashionable to have martial art expert animals.
It's like thing, animal.
You could get away with it because I think, particularly with Nintendo, we weren't allowed to create characters that were being overly violent towards one another, and you couldn't show blood, and anything that was too violent was a no-no. But you could actually get away with it with a cartoon character. Green blood, lasers, and maybe something comedy value happening, like the character getting squashed flat and then moving off the screen. We could get away with all of that stuff, so we took advantage of it, and that's what we did with Battletoads.
If you're having a range of 3rd graders to 7th graders, the 7th graders are playing Battletoads, the 3rd graders are playing something closer to Mario.
So much great variety in it. It was animated and drawn well for a Nintendo game. No 2 levels were really the same, and you really wanted to see what was next.
The different moves that you can do. You can pick up different type of weapons, different type of vehicles. So every level was its own different game. The graphics were amazing. It was like comic book action. I don't know how else to explain it.
Battletoads was ahead of its time.
There's some real nostalgia to it.
I saw on the internet, I saw the whole 3 of these guys, and someone's asking like $400 for them. Oh my god, it says $2.99. I asked the guy online whether I could buy the other 2. He says, no, I don't want to sell them and split them up. I said, well, I made the guys. I saw that somebody had actually made some plastic figures, sort of action figures. They're unofficial. And I thought, I've got to buy those. Somebody had made them in their own time. So it was then that I realized that there was still a bit of love out there for them.
In the mid-2000s, there was that whole thing. It was like a big prank where people would call GameStop to pre-order it.
I remember the day it was first posted on the board. The beauty of it was its simplicity and its ontological symmetry. There was just 2 steps. 1, phone up your local video game store. 2, ask them for Battletoads. I said, are you out of your mind? Something like this has never been attempted before.
That they were just so annoyed with it, and they're like, stop calling us about Battletoads and hang up.
The funny thing is, someone called us and tried to prank call us with that very same question. But I said, I do have Battletoads in stock. Are you interested in putting on hold? They didn't know what to say.
I've never understood this, but people would write, do you have Battletoads? And I have no idea what that means to this day.
I remember vividly the feeling of the phone in my hand. And dialing the number, I could feel my mouth was dry. I was sweating. And part of me hoped that she never picked up, but she did pick up. And she said hello, and I panicked. I didn't know what to say. Then something arose deep inside of me, something ancient and cunning. And I said it. I said, do you have Battletoads? And she said, excuse me? But then I hung up the phone.
I think the world's ready for more Battletoads. And I think it's kind of one of those things that it just, what took them so long?
There's a 2019 release. I'll be first in line to get it.
I hope that they release a character for the Smash Brothers.
Looking at the trailer, it looks like they're going to spend some real time making sure that it nods to the original and has the same kind of humor in there. So I'm quite excited to see that.
Am I responsible for the resurgence and interest in Battletoads? I would never say something like that, but you're welcome.
So as you can see, Battletoads is still a challenging game. Practice makes perfect, and you will eventually succeed. It's going to take a lot of commitment, but if you're dedicated enough, you can do it.